Hi all, it's Jan of the Jan Files. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And just a heads up, if you watch this at 1.25, you just have to go and hit the playback speed on the settings button and hit 1.25. This will go faster. That's how I watch all my YouTube videos. So we're going to talk about Epstein today, and only Epstein, or people related to Epstein. So what I want to talk about is a continuation of what I talked about the other day when I mentioned Leon Black and Glenn Dubin, as being still on the Museum of Modern Art's board. They were both in the Epstein Files and both accused of raping women by women. So what I mean by that is Pritsker, that's a whole nother person I'm going to be talking. Leon Black and Glenn Dubin are in the Epstein Files, and especially with Leon Black, there's pretty horrible allegations. They have not been arrested. They have not been investigated. None of that has happened. Clearly, we all know that the DOJ has done nothing other than cover all of this up. So I'm going to continue along the lines of institutions protecting these people. I'm not calling them pedophiles. I am saying they have questionable behavior, and it's as documented in the Epstein Files. So that's what I'm relying on. Now, the first person I want to talk about is Tom Pritsker, and Thomas Pritsker. Now, he owned or ran the Hyatt hotels. Okay, he was chairman. Well, not anymore. He did resign from that, and I guess he's also resigned, from that board. He used to be on the University of Chicago. He was a trustee there. He is actually related, Thomas Pritsker, to the governor of Illinois, the other Pritsker. I think, and these people, I don't have any idea what their political affiliation is. I'm not looking up to see whether they're Democrats or Republicans. Pritsker probably is a Democrat. I don't know. I don't care. Okay? Because this isn't about this. This is about power, and it is about money, and this is about prestige and society, and what society does to embrace these people who are villains. Let me just put it that way. Villains. It's a good word, right? Villains, in my estimation. So Pritsker, however, is still, and this is the point of this, and I'll tell you what some of the files said about him, but he's still the chairman of the board of a huge think tank. It's called the Center for Strategic and International Studies. It's a bipartisan, nonprofit policy research organization. So like Leon Panetta's there, Paul Ryan's on it. It's the who's who of past biggies in different administrations. So there's William Cohn, who was at one point the defense head of the Department of Defense. So these are that level, right? And he's still the chairman of the board, folks. I guess that they don't think this is a big deal. So let me tell you a little bit about what Pritsker did or said. So DOJ documents revealed that Pritsker and Ghislaine Maxwell exchanged dozens of innuendo-laced emails in the early 2000s. I still have this cough, sorry. Discussing underwear and Pritsker's manhood, among other topics. Separate DOJ documents show Pritsker was aware of and planned several trips to Epstein's private island, Little St. James, advised Epstein on staffing decisions for the island, and helped coordinate a job interview at a Hyatt hotel in the UK for at least one woman he met at Epstein's house. This is, I'll promise you the world kind of thing, And now the other part of this is that he was described by Epstein as family. That's how close he and Epstein were. And he knew him from 2003 through 2019. And let me remind you, Epstein was accused and convicted and had a settlement agreement in 2007, 2008 with the Palm Beach prosecutor's office. And he was found guilty, went to jail for 13 months, if you want to call what he was in jail. He wasn't. He was able to go to work every day, which meant he could leave the jail, and etc. So this guy, Pritsker, knew all of this, right? He was like family. He knew that Epstein had been accused and accepted responsibility. He knew this. Not a surprise. And didn't stop him. One of the earliest documents in a 2003 email from Ghislaine Maxwell to Pritsker asking if he'd be in New York for a dinner Epstein was hosting. She said, Ghislaine, now this is, describe the guest list as including 24 people and 5 models who are the serving girls. Virginia Giuffre, the victim who sadly killed herself, and a book has been posted posthumously, stated in 2016 deposition that she had sex with the owner of a large hotel chain in France and that she was sent by Ghislaine Maxwell to perform the sex acts. Now, Pritsker has denied anything having to do with that, right? So, this man is all over the Epstein Files. I don't know how many times he was in them, but he was there. And he is still the chairman at this big-ass center for national and foreign policy. That's because they don't want to lose him, I guess. I guess they think that it's not a big deal to be talking about like that in the Epstein Files. There's far more in there about him. The other person is Steve Tish. Steve Tish is the one who owns the Giants, the New York Giants, a football team. He has done something to change the structure of his company since the Epstein Files came out so that he is not, I don't know, chairman of the board, whatever. It doesn't really matter. But the NFL actually supposedly investigated his relationship with Epstein and didn't find anything, which is so horrific given that this man, in terms of what is alleged, is far worse than Pritsker. Not far worse than Leon Black, but sort of equally on the same level of the things that were done, that quote by him according to the Epstein Files. Again, this is all going back to the Epstein Files. And so his name appears 440 times in really across the DOJ's release of more than 3 million documents. Now remember, we have millions of documents that we have not seen. The 2013 emails show Epstein not only scouting women for Tish, but facilitating introductions and providing follow-up commentary after meetings. In several exchanges, Epstein and Tish discussed whether women were pro or civilian or a working girl. In one exchange, Epstein referred to a woman he was offering Tish as conquests and wrote, "I'm happy to have you as a new but obviously shared interest friend." In a separate exchange, Tish asked, "Is my present in New York City?" And the following morning asked, "Can I get my surprise to take me to lunch tomorrow?" In another exchange, after a meeting took place, Epstein wrote that Tish did very well, told him that the woman was a little freaked by the age difference, and advised him to go slow. And as I said before, the NFL took a look at this, didn't find a problem. So there's a couple other names. There's Tom Barack, I don't know how to say his name. He wasn't his relationship with Epstein, I don't see anything about sex and girls, but it was about politics and power, because he met with Epstein and Ehud Barak, who was the former president of Israel, and another guy, Vitaly Churkin, from Russia. He was also asked by Epstein to download Signal. In other words, to keep their stuff safe from being hacked. So he is now the ambassador to Turkey. And obviously he is a friend of Donald Trump. How interesting, right? Epstein said to him, let's catch up. Send photos of you and child. Make me smile. And so, one of the things Epstein was doing was obviously hooking very powerful people up, some within his web and network in terms of the sex and all that, the rape, let me get this, the rape, sexual abuse that these girls and women went through. But there were other, obviously, instances where people were just, invited to parties and whatever. So we're not talking about that. There's also Casey Wasserman, who's still on the board of the Olympic Committee in Los Angeles. I mentioned this once before. He's also on the LA County Museum's board. He is also on one more. Maybe not one more. The Geffen Theater. I think that's him. Well, yeah. Steve Tish, too. I mean, Steve Tish is still on boards. So is most of these people are still attached to things that, even though if they've had to let go of certain bigger profile, being the head of the companies, they're still interacting with, the elite of the elite, so to speak. And so this is why we're here, folks. It's because this level of people deliberately ignoring, not wanting to deal with, because probably they're afraid to raise the hood and look underneath to see what the fuck is driving the car. Because we're clear. Eric Swalwell, who else is like Eric Swalwell in the Congress? We should be looking at anybody who's got ethics violations. And I don't mean a witch hunt. I mean really serious ethic violations. And you will find, I'm not hearing any Democrats at this point defending Swalwell. I don't, as I said before, I know I am not alone in this. I don't care if they're Democrat or Republican. They should be held accountable. And none of them have been convicted of a crime. Let me be very clear about that. There's been mostly no official investigation into any of these people because the DOJ isn't going to do it. And so we can still put pressure. We can call, etc. We can send emails to these institutions. I am, whether I think it's next week, if I can get out there at the end of this week, I don't know. I'm going into the city and I am going to stand in front of MoMA, and I've got my flyer already done. What the hell? Anyway, I got my flyer done, and I'm going to take it and confront people there who are going, did you know that two of the trustees here, Leon Black and Glenn Dubin, are in the Epstein Files? And I've got quotes. So it's not just a whatever. So I'm hoping to get some traction for that. And when I do, I will be filming it and showing you what's happening. So anyway, folks, keep vigilant, take care of yourself, and stay safe. We will never forget the victims of Epstein.